Hello friends and welcome to yet another figure study where I'm taking a look at a figure where I've been wanting to take a look at it for a while and just haven't got around to it until now. In this particular case, that figure is Cybertron Starscream, but it's not actually Cybertron Starscream. This is Galaxy Force Starscream. And the main way you can tell is because this thing isn't the size of a small truck. Cybertron Starscream, for whatever reason, Hasbro decided to make unreasonably large. Like almost obnoxiously large. I mean, there are certain engineering things that they did with the oversized Supreme Starscream or whatever he's called that I wish they had done on Galaxy Force Starscream, but that thing is way too big for my shelves, so I'm just glad I've got this, because this is a neat classic mold that actually fits on my shelf. But in any case, here we have Galaxy Force Starscream in his alt mode, and this is, I believe, intended to be a Tetrajet. I think that's what everyone calls it. And it looks the part. It's not quite as extreme as the G1 Tetrajets, but it does kind of have the three-pronged rear section when you're looking at it from the right angle. So yeah, I think that works. It's a neat vehicle design. It's kind of reminiscent of sci-fi starship space fighter thing. This looks like something that could be in Battlestar Galactica or Star Wars or something. I mean, not actually any of those shows, but it's like reminiscent of that kind of thing, you know? The colors are really nice on this. It's got this ever so slightly dull, like very slightly grayish white overall with these hits of this darker, it's like a extremely dark gray or a black that's like ever so slightly light all over the place, and then these nice red accents, and then a little bit of this sort of coppery bronzy color. I like the patterning too with these lines that kind of break up the shape a little bit, and that purple cockpit. For some reason, like the purple on the red, you'd think the purple would blend in a bit, but it's a nice deep purple, so I think that actually works really well. There are some issues with how like the sculpt gets broken up a little bit here, and the fact that you can totally see Starscream's head just chilling right there. But overall, I think it's a pretty neat alt mode. It does have his accessory too, which is this missile launcher thing that can fire the missile, but we're just going to keep that in there. And that just plugs into the underside, stays out of the way, and doesn't even really get in the way of the wheels, which is pretty cool. I also, for some reason, really like these engines on the back having this kind of like cylindrical shape to them. There's just something, or not cylindrical, like this semi-cone shape almost, like it kind of tapers a little bit. There's something neat about that. And I also like the swept back wings that I feel like this has to have been intentional, right? I mean, we'll see more in the robot mode, but I feel like the angle of these wings has to be meant to be evocative of the kind of horn-like angles that the Seeker wings in G1 had. There is, I suppose, the Cyber Key gimmick to go over as well, and I do have a Cyber Key. No idea if this is the Cyber Key. It's probably not, because I can never ever get the right Cyber Keys with these things, but I don't care. But it just plugs in back here, and when you plug it in all the way, if you put the key in all the way, then you get these little dagger things that flip out, and it's cool. It's a thing. I guess this way you can like fly past stuff and cut it or something. I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot else to say about this, I don't think. But it's cool. I do like it. It's just his alt mode is neat, but not blowing me away, I guess. So we'll just put him off to the side and bring out some size comparisons. And readjust. Okay, so here he is with the standard deluxe squad, and as you would expect, even though he's not the absolutely absurd nonsense behemoth that Supreme Starscream is, he's still quite a fair bit bigger than a deluxe. And because I kind of went over it with the last Tetrajet Starscream video, here he is with Make Toys Galaxy Meteor, which it's hard to tell from this angle. The Galaxy Meteor is a fair bit bigger than Galaxy Force Starscream. Not like massively bigger, but definitely bigger. It's kind of like dinner plate versus salad plate. I don't know. it's kind of in that vein, I guess. But yeah, Galaxy Meteor is bigger. but not as big as Supreme Starscream would be compared to this guy. And here he is with the duck tank. Alright, I guess all that's left is to turn Galaxy Force Starscream into the robot mode of Galaxy Force Starscream. So I'm going to disconnect this. This just plugs in right back there, and put his gun off to the side. And let's go. And that is all there is to it. There we have Galaxy Force Starscream, and by extension Cybertron Starscream in his robot mode. The Supreme version, there's a little bit more to it, where like this bit here can hinge in so that this section is not quite as long, and these wings on the back can actually hinge forward a bit, which I really wish this could do that to get these out of the way so they don't stick out quite as far, but oh well. This is a great design for Starscream. This figure is a bit of a brick. I mean, not a brick, but he's definitely limited in articulation in some ways that are disappointing. But this is a very cool design for Starscream. I mean, a lot of what we see here is stuff that we saw in vehicle mode, with the exception of like the arms that have flipped forward. They were kind of tucked around underneath. The thighs were inside the legs. And now we're seeing more of like this detail in the front, which was the side of the Tetrajet mode, and then these bits are at the bottom. But like there's some really nifty stuff. I like the design here. I like the pods on the sides of the arms and these little winglets coming out. And here you can kind of see what I mean when I was talking about the wings kind of evoking that hooked wing design from the G1 Seekers. But you can also fold these back, which is what I prefer to do. The colors here are the same as what we saw with the vehicle mode, except there are some new details that are like front and center. They were there before, but I really like how it all mixes up with like the kind of darker toes into the lighter feet and legs, but then you've got these red and kind of dark details in the knees, the dark thighs, going into this whole cockpit section that's still like front and center of the robot mode. I also like how, because of the way it transforms with this section that kind of flips down, these added coppery bits for the pylons are typically hidden in the vehicle mode, but then when you bring it down, those bits get revealed. And it just adds a little bit more color to that section there, and also the head, which we will look at more in more detail later. There is some nice molded detail all over this guy, which we saw a lot of it in vehicle mode, but then you get some added details, like this section was underneath the cockpit in vehicle mode. This stuff was kind of hidden a little bit behind the pods that are on the arms now. There's lots of nice molding in there. There's some nice molded detail on the thighs. The arms are nice and chunky and have this fun kind of gauntlet design, which I really like. I think the shoulders look really neat with these big chunky bits and the turbines or whatever, the engine sticking out of the top. I kind of like the way the guns come down and sort of taper off a little bit, and then this tapers off as well. It's just something about that 3-point effect that, I don't know, I think it's neat. Around the back, there's also some nice molded detail. Like these bits were completely covered by the arms in the vehicle mode, so I think it's cool that they managed to mold some nice little detail in there. Looking at the head, it does look like a Seeker head, so by extension it does look like Starscream. It's a similar head shape. You've got the vents on the sides and the silvery face with the red eyes. It all works. This is definitely a much more stern look for Starscream than I'm used to seeing, but again, it works. And I also like that they brought in this almost bluish metallic color for like the vents and the bits on the top there, so that's cool. And yeah, it looks really good. It is a good looking head, it's just the expression is a little bit mundane, let's say. And since we're already here, let's look at articulation. So the head can rotate, as you saw. It's just on a swivel. It doesn't look up and down or left or tilt or anything like that. The arms, unfortunately, this is as far out as they go. I really wish that those could go out further, and when they go out this far, they don't exactly, like they want to snap back in place really fast. And that kind of stinks. I believe this is primarily intended for transformation, like they get out of the way of the legs when you do the transformation, so this doesn't really seem to work that well as articulation for robot mode, and that's a shame. I really wish that they had worked in a way to make this a little more solid, because I prefer having the arms out slightly like that. It just adds a little bit of, let's say, slight dynamicness to a very otherwise pretty static figure. You don't get any bicep swivels, which stinks. I can understand why, though. It's because of the way that the arms attach. Like, these bits essentially swing up and plug into there, and this section here isn't very long, so they probably didn't have the space to put a bicep swivel in there. And as you can see, obviously, the arms can rotate forward and back like that. The elbows, though, he does have elbows. They can move 90 degrees, and it's like 2 clicks, but I think you can kind of cheat the ratchets a bit if you wanted to. Does not have a waist joint, but for how all this transforms, I kind of understand why. The legs can go forward. If you kind of angle things around this section, they can go forward about that far. Unfortunately, you kind of have to worry about these guns, so if you angle the hips out, you can bring the legs up further, but you have to angle them around those guns that are pointing down. Going back is a bit easier, though. It just goes all the way back. And they can go out 90 degrees until things start banging into stuff, but as we saw with the transformation, those hips could potentially go up way further. You get a thigh swivel just above the knee. I've seen that a lot lately in a lot of figures. And then the knees bend a lot for the sake of the transformation, because that leg sucks up into the calf section there. And then the feet can angle like so, and you can also use the heel spur if you wanted to do something like that. So he's not super posable, but I feel like you can do some stuff with him. Like, he can pull off semi-dynamic poses using the heel spurs and some, let's say, creative positioning. You can get some okay dynamic-ish poses out of Starscream here. More than anything, I think I just wish that these arms could go out more. And with legs, like, he does that thing where you go from stock straight to way too far out, so that's kind of eh. And then for the gun, he has a very simple kind of square gun with a little white ring around it, and his purple missile, and it goes in there, and it's unremarkable, but the purple's nice. And this can just plug into his hand. It's a cool figure. It's just, I wish he had a little bit more articulation. It is a shame that he gets kind of shown up by other Galaxy Force and Cybertron figures, but he looks cool. I do like this design a lot. I don't even mind the fact that he's so chunky. I think it works just fine here. I just wish he had just a little bit more articulation. That would have been so cool. Though speaking of this design for Starscream with more articulation, let's move on to the size comparisons. Here he is with the standard deluxe squad, and I know I said that he is small compared to Supreme Starscream, and he is. Supreme Starscream is obnoxiously huge, let's go with that. But he's still pretty darn big when compared to a standard deluxe. And let me readjust. So getting back to that subject of this design for Starscream, but with more articulation, here he is with Make Toys Galaxy Meteor, and Galaxy Meteor definitely has more articulation. Though as I'm looking at them side by side, I think I kind of prefer the very, very, very dark gray that they used for this version of Starscream versus the kind of navy blue that they went with for Galaxy Meteor. I mean, I don't dislike this color scheme, I just feel like maybe this color scheme looks a little bit better, but they are kind of doing their own thing. Oh, and while I have them both here, let's do the arm blades thing. And for Starscream here, again, you just put the cyber key in the same spot that you did for vehicle mode, and when you push it in, the arm blades flip out, and now he has those going. And so there you can see Starscream with Galaxy Meteor with their arm blades out. Pretty similar design, though this one has that nice green kind of molded in it. I do think that Galaxy Meteor overall works a little bit better. Like, the proportions are better, the articulation's way better, but there is something to be said for Galaxy Force Starscream. And let's bring this in a little bit more. So yeah, finally, here he is with the duck tank. And that'll do it for Galaxy Force Starscream. I do, as I've said many times, really like this design for Starscream, and I think this is a cool toy. I just wish, more than anything, that those arms could go out a little bit further or possibly more solidly click into place, going out slightly. That is my biggest gripe in terms of the articulation. I do wish he had more, obviously, but I just hate how easy it is to knock these back down. I like that this is a departure for Starscream, but there are certain elements that still read like a Seeker, like the columns on either side of the head itself, those wings when they're folded out. It's one of those things that have helped me find an appreciation for the Unicron trilogy, because I missed the Unicron trilogy. This is one of those designs that really helped me to appreciate how they really tried something different with the Unicron trilogy. And it didn't work every time in my mind, but when it hit pretty darn hard. With all that out of the way, what do you all think of this guy? Or Supreme Starscream? Because I imagine more people watching this have Supreme Starscream than Galaxy Force Starscream. Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. If you enjoy the stuff I do and you feel like you want to support the channel, there is a Patreon option. There's going to be a link in the description as well as at the end card. There's just a $1 tier. It's the only tier there is, but it supports the channel. It'll get you early access to new videos, and it'll get you access to the occasional behind-the-scenes photo or video or whatever that I post. With all that out of the way, thank you everybody for watching, and remember, art is more than meets the eye.